Welcome back into the Kramer Show, and joining me now is, well, he wears many hats. He's the director of game day operations and general manager to Queen City. He's also the defensive coordinator and the best wide receiver in the SFL right now, Stephen Hacker. Stephen, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, and what a great introduction. Thank you very much for that.
Hey, no problem. I do believe right now and probably for the rest of the year that you will be the number one wide receiver. Let's just get to that because I have a question about it. I feel like you're going to win the MVP, to be honest. That's just me and my take. If I had a vote in order to how, well, I mean, I think we all have a vote on the MVP thing. You're having that MVP type season we're going into week 6. So, how has this year been different, or this kind of be a rebuttal on how the season's going for you?
Well, I think that's true. I think that right now the pace that I'm on is very deserving of an MVP season. But I did have a similar season my rookie, and as the season progressed, the uh, the effectiveness of my wide receiver kind of tailed off, and some of the running backs got a little bit stronger. But some of the rules have changed since then, so that's a high possibility. Like if I can continue the touchdown pace that I'm on,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's very, very possible.
Yeah, if you want to go back to like say your rookie season, 16 touchdowns, 1,504 yards. Now to this year, you had the 833 yards on the 9 touchdowns, and it's just like everything's clicking and firing. 'Cause I know we joined the league at the same time, and that's with the season 12, I believe, and coming in as players. So it's like, I mean, we've actually had a very solid 3 years so far.
Yeah. I have been in the SFL since season 10. I was just under a different player name. I retired my linebacker and started anew as a wide receiver. But yeah, the 3 seasons as a wide receiver for Queen City have been phenomenal. Owner Eric Barkley and Vice President of Operations Nacho Sicario, they do a great job scheming the offensive side of the ball, making the right decisions for the offense and for the team as a whole. I've just been fortunate that when they picked me in that draft, that they were wanting to move away from a run-heavy scheme that was kind of their game plan back then. And at the time, it just kind of meshed up and worked out really well for all of us. And we're just trying to and find ways to get the other legend, I believe, a guy that doesn't get enough credit. I kind of get the explosive plays, it seems like, and he's just been around it, which is Chris Curtice, the logo.
Mm-hmm.
Does a lot of work for our team as well. And, again, there's just times where the route tree and the things that I run and the things that my player can do really afford me the benefit. But, Curtice does a lot of the things that allow me to shine. And, as well as, the tight end that we have, he had a really great rookie season last season. He led us in receiving yards where I was the third on the pecking order last season. But uh, it just shows that we have a bunch of weapons. And, AJ Caswell just kind of, he has just, and, he shows that he can, throw the ball now, when he's given the opportunity for so long, having to hand the ball off 30 times a game, and at 50 times. And, look at the results he's getting.
Yeah, he's slinging it all over the place. But you mentioned that you were a linebacker before, so I know we've had an influx of so many people that are joining because of how we're exposed on for the fan networks. Plus, our social medias have been growing a lot more. You said you were a linebacker at first, then you decided to retire that player. For somebody that is brand spanking new that just joined right now, like, explain that process. Did you have like any doubt that you were going to possibly not be picked up by a team as you're a wide receiver, or were you just people were thinking, oh, we're shocked to see you move out of the way from that linebacker spot?
Absolutely not. I don't think anybody even knew linebacker and became Steven, just became myself. That they didn't even make that correlate. My personality, or my air quotes personality that I tried to take on with my linebacker, which was Thad Castle, it didn't really click. It didn't take off the way I wanted it. So when that did, I was kind of invested in the league in a different way at that point in time, getting more involved in the community, stats, and things like that. And that's what kept me around. Like it wasn't so much that the player, having the player is great. Getting to watch the games is absolutely great, but I learned that I was more invested in like the league and the people that make it work behind the scenes, and that's where I wanted to go. So whenever I just restarted as a rookie, I knew that I was trying to get on the broadcast. I knew that I wanted to take on more roles, and that was one of the things that I had talked about with Nacho and Eric before getting drafted. Was I wanted to work into a coaching and or general manager role. I wanted to get as high up as I, and they were open to that. So they got me into scouting. Started showing me how to scout. What they wanted, the information they wanted, so that we could run sims, basically scout the other team, try to implement our offensive and defensive game plan. And after about 4 weeks of that, that's when Eric felt comfortable enough that he started letting me, some of the defensive scheme strategy that we were doing. And so I would say for new people, for users joining, the big thing would be what you're interested in. Not everybody wants to be go that high up and be a general manager. Some people just want a player, and that's okay. But if you're going to be a player, it's good to know the rules and the information that's out there available. But just once you find those things, get familiar with them and then ask questions, because it's going to take a minute to kind of comprehend everything. But once you do and you have a general knowledge, asking questions will get you far. Once you've shown that you've done your homework, people are way more. If you just want to be dragged through the information, it's going to be hard for you, because we're all trying to live our own lives, and if you're having to explain every little detail, it's not always worth it.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
What you just said right there answered pretty much two of my questions I had lined up for you, because you go from being the guy that wears many hats, game operations, and GM, defensive coordinator, that I just pretty much just found out before we even started doing this, wide receiver. So like these people coming in are just thinking, I just want to be a player right now, and like that's perfect advice what you gave. And plus, honestly, just reach out to like one of us, like because I know we're both general managers. I'm Denver Nightwings general manager. You're Queen City's general manager. That's the best way to get noticed is reach out to general managers. Am I right?
Oh yeah. And so just having that vine is like what I started thinking of it. So it's not that you have to commit to one team or play favorites. What I started doing was having this, or trying to do, is to have a network of reliable sources of people that I knew their information was solid. And once I had that foundation or that net, well, then once I had a base, then I could develop other. I had the core of relationships that I was in the know. I could progress my player and had solid information on how use the weekly progressions to make my player good. How to use, you know, based on my tier level, what I should do 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time. And so I learned that by, you know, showing interest and being knowledgeable. And when I talked to somebody, I retained the information and then realized in conversation that somebody, so now I'm just building knowledge. It became kind of just, it was mental reps, man, just having those building blocks of people who know things. And there's just a plethora of those kinds of people out here. Whenever I first started, I knew nothing microphones and broadcasts, and I still really don't. But it's one of those things where I at least got my toes wet, and now I'm doing things that I never thought that I would, and that's because of some of the people that I've met.
Yeah. So Steven, going into week 6, you guys are sitting at 3-2 right now. Is this what you expected with your teams? You guys are kind of sitting pretty.
Is this what I expected? Yeah, the defense, yeah, some of the offensive stuff, especially at first, has been a little. Um, but I think if you look back, game week 1, they won on a perfect drive at the end of the game. The rest of the Queen City was offensively and defensively. Against you guys, against Denver, 27 points off turnovers for Denver. Tough. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
And when you look
yeah,
at
tough one, a tough loss for you guys, but great one for us.
wonderful if you're the winning team, but a tough one for the losing team.
Yeah,
And
true.
you guys played a great game. Aiden Davis played really well, and uh, but I think we executed defensively. Well. Um, we just have to limit turnovers, and I think it's been a big problem for us. But we are super aggressive. So when you're super aggressive, kinds of things can happen.
Yeah,
So we're willing to live by that. AJ Caswell's our guy. So as long as he's our guy, then this is what we're gonna. Uh, our goal after we didn't make the playoffs last season for the first time in forever, we went to work like that. That was motivation for us. Like that's not the quality of football that we play, that we hold ourselves to. So into this season, that what we were going to do is a little bit different, but I trusted that Eric knew what he was getting us into, and that we had a solid defense that we could fight through some woes and some struggles, and to get things right. On our sims in the off season, everything was just leading up to championship number 5, and that's what we have our eyes set on. It's not just to get back into the playoffs; it's to win everything. We want to be back at the top. We want to be taken seriously.
that's a great drive to have, Steven, man. Hey, I appreciate your time taking some out of your evening to come join me here, man.
Absolutely, Kramer. Thanks for having me on.
All right, that is Steven Hacker, the director of game day operations and general manager. Plus, he's also DC coordinator, defensive coordinator, and also wide receiver. That will do it for this part of the Kramer Show. Stay tuned, and we'll have more.